Welcome to the latest Watercolors Aquarium Gallery podcast, brought to you from the Aquarium Rush Studios in downtown Grand Rapids, Michigan. My name is Ben.
I'm Amy.
And I'm Charles.
Today we're going to complain.
Yeah, we love complaining. I'm a little worried that this might be our last episode because Ben's going on vacation tomorrow. And I'm always a little worried he's not going to come back. He's going to Belize, so...
As long as the t-shirt shop isn't hiring, you guys are good.
Okay. I feel a little more secure now.
So this is going to be hopefully funny and joking. And when I say complain, don't just tune us out right away because, it'll be a little educational, but mostly it's going to be funny, I think.
I think hopefully it'll be a little bit helpful. If you might not know some of these things, I don't know.
I only have 2 of them on here that are sad. I have like 12 on here, I think. So I'm going to start out with a story of a product you guys probably don't even know about, right? And it's something that you used to be able to buy for an under gravel filter. So if you could picture the top part of an under gravel filter, right, where the bubbles come out, and it's got that little, like there's a little headpiece that goes on, the clear plastic one with the nozzly looking thing, and yeah, that, and there, boom, under gravel filter, right? Mm-hmm. So a couple of the companies used to sell carbon cartridges. Okay, y'all know how I feel about carbon anyway. Right. But this was a carbon cartridge that was about 1.5 inches long and 1/2 inch wide and maybe 1 inch tall. So it held like 14 granules of carbon. Now, I'm not a fan of carbon in the first place, but the carbon on that little cartridge would have been exhausted in a normal aquarium in about 36 hours because there was such a little amount of carbon.
Right. If you're going to use it, use it.
Talk about an incredible waste. What a come on, guys. Yeah, it was dumb. So what are we talking about today? We are talking about products that are a complete waste of money. Mm-hmm. Either because it's bad for your fish or because it's just don't. Products I don't know why they some of them give the aquarium industry a bad name. Some of them are products that, at least on my list, that they do have a use or a value in certain extreme situations, but to just like everybody should buy these. No one should buy these unless you like really screwed up. So that's kind of the criteria. What did you guys do?
Mine was pretty similar. It's just stuff that like I see people spending on that either in the long run will end up being more expensive than something that is much simpler or just you don't need it.
Right. What'd you use? Like same lines, Charles?
My criteria was along the lines of just those weird conversations I've had where I feel like I need to convince more people not to buy a certain thing, or like, no, right. You don't want that, you want this, or I don't like it. Vague, let's say, just because for me, money wasting products was a pretty broad field, so I just kind of went with my gut on that, I guess.
I like it.
Will say that most of mine are freshwater products. I didn't really specifically differentiate one or the other, but they pretty much all ended up being stuff for freshwater. I really couldn't think of like a good example.
You just reminded me of someone that.
But like, and I think what it really comes down to is that most of mine are things that are mostly sold to beginners. Like, it's not necessarily that it's freshwater or saltwater. It's more of that, like, they are things that are targeted towards people who are just starting out. And to me, that's when you're most susceptible to buying one of these products.
To buying snake oil.
Yeah, because you don't know and you're just reading a package and doing what you're supposed to do, or you're reading some advice online and doing what you're supposed to do.
Right. Because, online is so full of great advice and great information. Mm-hmm.
And that makes my first one a little controversial.
Ooh, I like it. So what is it?
Because I bet almost all of our listeners have this, or at least if you were to search like an average forum and ask, like, what are 5 things I need to have? I would guess this would be on it more often than not.
Oh, I think I know.
I put the API Master Test Kit.
Oh, nice.
I honestly don't think that anyone needs this product.
All right, so we do some of the Simon in the Classroom aquariums. Mm-hmm. By the way, Simon in the Classroom, great program sponsored by, in Michigan, it's the Department of Natural Resources. All over the country, there are other government organizations that sponsor these programs to put aquariums in classrooms.
And just for anyone curious who's outside of Michigan, I think most states it's trout in the classroom.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Michigan is unique.
Well, that makes sense because you can't really do salmon in the classroom in a state that doesn't have a Great Lake or an ocean connected to it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fun. So here it's salmon in the classroom. Trout would be fun. I like trout. Anyway.
We're not talking about trout, guys.
But for all of those tanks, they do, one of the requirements is an API, freshwater master test kit. Mm-hmm. So you can teach kids about that certain aspect that I know freshwater test kits come with that you think is useless.
I guess I could see it in that sort of setting where you're sort of introducing somebody to testing and that kind of thing. But frankly, the only piece of equipment out of there that I want is their ammonia test.
I don't disagree with you.
Because it does, let's see, ammonia, nitrite, nitrate, general hardness, KH, pH is what that one comes with, right?
Right. Yep.
So GH and KH shouldn't be changing in the average freshwater tank. I don't like their nitrate and nitrite tests because I personally have a really hard time reading them. And if I wanted to measure pH, I would get a digital reader because you need to be that precise when you're measuring pH.
If you need to measure it.
Yeah, rather than just get an idea of if it's where you currently are.
The KH and GH one is, to me, is like I don't care what the KH and GH is. I mean, it could be an indication if something is wrong, but other things are going to indicate that for me. Now, part of it is that we live in Michigan, which we get our water from the Great Lakes, which it's very buffered water. If you live in a place that doesn't have buffered water, like say Atlanta, Georgia, where the water comes out very soft with a pH of like 6.5 to 6.7, with certain fish, you might need to pay a little bit more attention to that.
I guess if you were down there and really wanted to keep like Malawi cichlids,
right? Exactly.
Then what are you doing? I'm sorry.
Okay, how about soda cichlids?
Yeah.
If you lived in Atlanta and you want to keep soda cichlids, then maybe you need to pay more attention to that stuff.
See, my thing is with these particular types of test kits, we use the Tetra dip strips, right?
Dip and reads. Love them.
Mm-hmm.
Those liquid test kits from other companies, and I'm not just going to single out API, I'm talking just in general, they don't offer me a level of precision that makes the extra expense worthwhile for me. Like like Amy said, a great example is the pH pen. If you need that level of precision, you got to go straight to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can't have a margin of error of point anything.
No.
Right? Because you need pH measures. It's exponential going from 0.2 to 0.3.
Yeah.
So it matters.
Yeah. And so if you're doing, I think for that, it's like blue or slightly more blue. Are you getting a more precise reading than you would on a dip strip?
Right.
My frustration with a lot of these test kits was when I was working with licorice gouramis at home.
Mm-hmm.
Blackwater.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's going to change the color. It took me a minute. Oh,
yeah.
right.
And it's not that they're junk products or anything. It works. It functions. But this is the one thing that like is in every single like get started guide online.
Right.
And so that's why I'm singling this one out particularly, just because it's like, oh, you need a filter, a heater, and the API master test kit.
No.
And no.
We got some nasty grams when we posted the thing about our 6-in-1 that we love the Diponides, right?
Someone called it the devil.
Yeah, I know. That was awesome. So I would love to anybody who would like to reach out, and I'm going to explain why we use those right now. If you've got some, like if you want to have like a civil discussion about it, I would love to. If you want to just go, that's terrible, you're wrong, then just go crawl back under your rock and go complain to somebody who wants to listen.
And if your explanation for why it's needed starts with, well, this person said.
Yeah. I want personal experience.
Yeah, personal experience and something that is backed by the way that a tank is actually taken care of.
Really, I would want if there was a 3-in-1 dip and read. Yeah. Nitrate, pH.
Right?
Yep.
See, here's the thing. Those dip and reads are a time saver. And people really underappreciate just how adaptable fish in general are.
Right.
Because if I wanted to do those like 5-in-1 or 6-in-1 or whatever it is, I can't remember off the top of my head, individually in an API test kit, that would take me like half an hour.
Yeah.
And so like if I dip it and it's like, okay, nitrates are low, nitrites are 0, pH makes sense, GH makes sense, KH makes sense, then I didn't waste my time testing all of those, and I can go on to test other things.
And all you've gotten all of the information you need.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if your nitrates are 26 or 28. If they're around 20 to 30, that's all you need to know.
That's all you need.
Nitrites, if they're there, it's bad. If they're not there, it's good. Done.
Honestly, with these particular parameters that are on the dip strips, accuracy is important. Precision is not.
Not at all. The only thing that bugs me about the 6-in-1 test strips is if you look at their explanation of, it says safe, not safe, risky, dangerous, or deadly, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And in the nitrite section, really low nitrite is labeled as safe.
Yeah.
And then it goes to caution. And it is true that really low nitrite is not going to be harmful to your fish, but it is a really good indication that something is wrong. It's all you need.
Yeah. Someday somebody will make the multi-dip strip that's actually designed for aquariums. I wait for that day.
I would love to see that.
Because pH range safe. What does that mean?
Right. Safe for who? Is it a discus or is it a soda cichlid?
Yeah. And is 7 perfect for everything? No, it's just neutral.
Neutral. That's a good start. I wouldn't have gone to that one as like a big waste, but
especially with people who have small budgets where like that's one of your essential pieces of your tank.
Right.
Or you could get that piece of driftwood you really like.
Yeah. And dip and reeds, or just bring us a sample. We'll test it for you. Yeah. All right, Charles, can you top that one?
No.
Good. This is a competition now.
It is.
What I put on my list is buying a filter that is rated for a tank twice as large as the tank you have.
Ooh, that's a good one.
So I'm going to say this. It depends on what your reasoning for doing that is.
Here's genuine answer.
I know what most people think.
Yeah.
But
genuine answer is I know the exemption you're going to bring up, and I'm going to let you.
Yeah.
I have never had a conversation that resulted in that ever in this store.
Right. So what most people are going to say is, if I get a bigger filter, I can get more fish. Wrong answer. Thank you for playing next contestant, please. Bigger filters have more flow. So that's the only situation where I would say, yeah, put a bigger one on. If you want to do a 20 long with a bunch of Hillstream loaches and zebra danios and you really want to watch them move in that current, put an AquaClear 50 on there and it'll look really cool.
Yeah.
And it'll be great.
Mm-hmm. I had an AquaClear 50 on my 20-gallon saltwater tank, and it was the right filter for that tank.
Yeah.
But that's saltwater. You want an extra flow.
Yeah.
The same principle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we had somebody who called in like a couple of weeks ago who found a gallons per hour calculator and talked to somebody for what the formula needed to be to get to the right number of gallons per hour for filtration for their tank. And it meant they got an FX4 for a 75-gallon tank. And there was someone out there who told them that that was the filter that they needed. At that point, they probably spent more than they needed to. Would it be a bad thing for the tank? Probably not.
I think if you need the flow, an FX4 is going to put out, but it's about flow at that point, not filtration
This was
capacity.
for someone who wanted a normal planted aquarium.
Yeah, and see, I think that would be too much movement.
Yeah.
So why don't you explain to the listeners why all of our discussion here is based on flow and not actual filtration?
I think you should, because it's your category. It's your topic.
I suppose that's fair. All right. So what exactly does your filter do?
Cleans your water.
No. All right. So brief introduction to the 3 types of filtration, just because it's relevant: chemical, mechanical, and
My favorite, biological.
biological. There we go. So like theoretically, I guess if you had a bigger filter, you could do more chemical filtration, but there's not a lot of situations where I want to do that.
Yeah, and biological filtration is the most important.
Yeah.
So the capacity of the biological filtration system is based on the life in the tank, not the size of the filtration.
Yeah. So let's say you have an AquaClear 20 on your 20-gallon tank, and you just jam it full of Sika Matrix. Sure.
Yep.
Okay. Well, you have this nice little area for your nitrifying bacteria to grow and thrive and process fish waste from ammonia to nitrite to nitrate.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. Now, if you put on an AquaClear 75 or whatever,
Yeah.
and you stuff it full of matrix, okay, that doesn't change the gallonage of your tank. That doesn't
Right.
change how fast nitrate is accumulating in your tank.
Right.
Yeah, but you don't need to do as many water changes.
No, you still do.
Yeah, because the nitrate is still going to be there.
The nitrate is still the end product.
Yes, the ammonia is going to be processed into nitrate. The nitrate is going to be there. An overstocked 20-gallon aquarium is going to produce more nitrate regardless of the size of filter.
And it's not really like this podcast, because this is actually a really in-depth topic, isn't the discussion for this, but I do want to mention that like a lot of people in saltwater in particular are really into Dr. Tim's like word on stuff like that. And he's very much of the opinion that the vast majority of us over filters our tanks, and that's actually causing long-term more problems than it's helping us.
Yeah, I could see that.
And so like a great example of that is, and this is slightly odd topic, but just to make my point, over skimming in your tank,
Mm-hmm.
in a reef tank, because all those beneficial bacteria that, like, not nitrifying bacteria, but all those beneficial bacteria, a lot of them are free floating.
Mm-hmm.
Your protein skimmer is pulling those all out.
Mm-hmm. Preach into the choir, my friend. Preach into the choir.
It's just tough. All right, your turn.
Oh, where to begin? All right, I'm just going to take the gloves off and talk about what I think is. See, I was going to do this in a YouTube. We're going to do a YouTube video, and I was going to make it that, you know, if you guys could guess what my absolute, I think the absolute
I already know what you're
worst
talking about.
product. It shouldn't be produced. It shouldn't be sold. The companies that are still producing it, yes, I'm going to say it this way, should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah, nothing on my list other than what you're about to say is something I'm like, that's a scam. Like that's not you wasting your money. That's someone taking your money from you.
Oh, there's a couple of them on my list that are scams. Snake oils. But this one is like, it's actually bad for your tank. Yeah. Vacation feeders.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's put a bunch of calcium carbonate and rotting food in your tank and let it sit there for a week. I know there are people out there that have said they've had some success with putting a vacation block in your tank. And there are circumstances that it doesn't destroy things.
Notice the caveat there. Doesn't destroy.
Right. Couple of things about vacation feeders. First, they will have a negative effect on your pH. It's a thing that slowly dissolves in your tank and releases whatever that thing is that dissolves and little particulates of food. Those particulates of food are still in your tank. They're still in contact with your water. They're still rotting. Just before you leave for vacation, you'll see a bunch of your fish and other critters go over and start munching at it, and you'll think, look at how good I'm doing. I'm taking good care of my fish while I'm on vacation. In about 3 days, you're going to be left with rotting, ammonia-producing, pH-rising scum.
If you're left with not a dozen dead fish as well.
Right. There's absolutely no use for those things. The only thing they do is provide a little bit of peace to someone that doesn't know better on how it should be done. Mm-hmm. Right? So first, how should you take care of your fish if you're going to go on vacation? Let's talk about a weekend getaway. Nothing. Don't feed them extra before you leave. Don't feed them extra when you get home. Don't have somebody come in and feed your fish. They're going to kill them.
Yeah. Don't do 100% water change and scrub out your filters.
Right.
Just
nothing.
They're fine.
Nothing. Now, I recognize we live in the Midwest, right? If there's a problem, you throw food at it. If something's wrong, you have a sandwich, right? To make things better. So we're all programmed, we're all conditioned here that if we don't get three square meals a day until we're so full we can't eat anything else, we're gonna die of starvation the next day. That's not true for us, and that's not true for fish. Now we do need to eat every day. That's not true for fish.
The biological thing to keep in mind here is we're large-bodied mammals.
Right.
Per gram, the only group of organisms that have a higher metabolism are birds.
Right.
Because they fly.
Yeah.
Not to mention, if you have any kind of, I'm going to use the buzzword bioactive here. If you have any sort of like living aquarium, planted, reef tank, whatever, there's food in there.
It's producing its own food.
Yeah, it's not enough to support and grow your fish up without you putting into that ecosystem, but they're nibbling at stuff all day.
Right. They're fine. I don't know how to rant about this product even more. Like nobody should ever buy one of these. Mm-hmm. So people stop producing them. So first, I was talking about what to do instead.
Yes.
Weekend getaways. Don't do anything. If you're going for a week, and actually I'm going to say 6 days or longer, 6 days or shorter, don't do anything. Make sure your fish are healthy. Do a water change, a normal one, before you leave. Feed your fish appropriately before you leave. When you get back, feed them appropriately again, and they will be fine. If anybody calls up and says, I tried what you said and my fish died, then there was something else wrong with you and your fish and your tank. Healthy fish, just fine. Okay, so longer than 5 days. If you have someone that can come and feed your fish for you, have them come twice. Or every 3 days. If you can remember for 2 weeks, every 3 days. Portion out a normal day's worth of food. 1, not 3, 1, in a pill dispenser. I like those little deli cups that ketchup comes in with the little lids, those little solo ones. Those are really nice.
Put a date on each one.
And have them feed that amount. If they skip one, don't tell them to make up for it.
Hide the rest of the food.
I was like,
hide the rest of the food.
Yeah. In fact, if they miss one, be clear. Just skip it.
Right.
Don't make it up at all. Just
right. Or get a programmable electronic auto feeder and set it on the lowest possible setting.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, unless you have like a really nice friend, that's probably your cheapest option.
Yeah.
Aren't they like $20?
Well, the ones that I like are the Eheims. Okay. And actually, I think that's the only one that I will use, and they're $40. They're $39.99. If you can afford to go on vacation, you can afford the $39.99 for the Eheim auto feeder to take it every time. Put new batteries in it every time. We use those. I think I have 240 of them in use right now.
With service accounts.
With our service company. Yep.
Yeah, and I can't even we cannot go over the mark on this point where I would say if I get a call about a tank crash, 8 times out of 10 it happens when you're on vacation, and probably 9 out of those, that proportion is because somebody else took care of the tank and fed.
The other time is when your 3-year-old dumped a whole can of food in your tank. But
Yeah.
it's all related to overfeeding.
Yeah, exactly.
It's never related to underfeeding. Never. Ever. Ever.
I love the being able to tell people I have cats
Mm-hmm.
and whoever is taking care of the cats while I'm gone, or if it's less than 6 days, like you said, that's actually a really good cutoff point. I'll tell that person, okay, if you touch my tanks, you're not allowed in my home again.
Ever.
Period.
Yeah. You got to remember out there that in the wild. Okay, so I'm going to use one more example of this, and we can go on to something else, right? Apistos. If you read some of the earlier descriptions about collecting apistos in the wild, they all talk about them as being fish that max out at like 1.5 inches. And if you look at apistos in aquariums, they're 2.5 inches, sometimes 3 inches long. That's because in the wild, they have limited resources and they reproduce and have adapted to that kind of a lifestyle. That's as big as they get because they don't get to eat that much. And they're fine and it's okay. They're not starving. It's not like someone needs to go out to Colombia and start dumping a bunch of food where the pistos live, right? That's normal biological activity for those fish. The ones here are all overweight. I was in Shed's Aquarium one time and it said on their, I was looking at this fish, I'm like, I don't know what fish that is. And I mean, it was a South American cichlid display. I know those fish, right?
You should at least
It
have
had big
a good
stingrays
idea.
in it. It had all kinds of really cool big South American cichlids and big South American fish. I'm like, what the heck am I looking at? It was just this fat, bulbous looking thing. And I realized I was looking at a pike cichlid. I had to look at the descriptions in my process of elimination. I was looking at a pike cichlid. And it was so severely obese that it didn't look like a pike cichlid anymore. It looked like a perch.
Wow.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. So, okay, there's my rant. Feed your fish less, feed your fish less, feed your fish less. Never buy vacation block feeders ever. Please, if you work for a store that produces or that sells them, please take them off the shelves. And sell Eheim auto feeders. If you work for a company that produces them, please go away and stop producing them. Okay, I just dropped the microphone and walked out.
All right, Amy, what's your next one since our host is gone?
What do we want? Do we want to talk about something different? All right. Oh, that was a
he's
good
back.
sound.
Okay, I guess I
We're
can
doing
come back.
ASMR now, just sounds of opening beer cans. All right. I'm going to do, this is one that we have on the shelf here that I have talked a lot of people out of.
Uh-oh.
Hey, Nick, get ready to edit this part.
I went with mini CO2 kits.
Okay, you're not wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. The one that we carry is the little Fluval kit. I think it's great. It works great. I know Nick used it. It worked just fine. But talk about a money-wasting product. They're over $100. The little canisters are $20 or more. If you want to get a mini CO2 tank to save money, wait 6 months and buy the big one.
Yeah. We do sell a lot of big CO2 systems because we have that mini one on the shelf.
Yeah. And okay, let's say you have a bookshelf tank where you can't put a CO2 tank underneath or behind or next to.
Drill a hole in your bookshelf and get a real one.
Yeah, right? It's not that they don't work. It's not that they're junk. It's that they're a waste of money.
Yeah. They are overpriced for what they... Well, they're not overpriced because it's a complicated little thing of
Yeah.
compressed gas, and it's got to have the safety features and all that kind of stuff
You
on
reduce the size of the simplest part of it. That doesn't reduce the price that much.
it. Right.
Let's just talk the numbers just to make our point.
Yeah, yeah.
So, a brand new Fluval CO2 mini kit.
With $119.99?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. And a replacement cartridge is,
I think $29.99 or $24.99.
and how long do they last?
About a month or a month and a half.
Okay.
Let's say a month because it's easy math.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, what does a brand new CO2 system with a pi-pound tank cost?
About $2.25.
$2.25. Okay. How much is a replacement CO2 tank?
$25.
Okay. How long do those tanks last?
But we're going to go with 9 months to a year.
So,
It means you just paid for the system in 4 months,
yep.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, wait 6 months and buy the real one.
Right. Right.
And then after that, you're like, after that 4 months, you're literally saving money.
You're making money at that point. Yeah. Yeah. You're spending about the same amount you would spend in a month as you would for a year. And actually, okay, so we're, you know what? I'm going to go right back to a year, maybe longer, because just remember, we're talking about a small tank
Yeah.
that can handle the
10
small
gallon? Yeah.
CO2 system, right? So yeah, we're going to go with a solid year on that.
Yeah,
So
just
that means-
because you're going to have to get the tank checked.
Yeah. So $225 for a year versus 25, 11 months of 25, because you got the 1 month with your 119 for your 1 month, 11 months at 25, that's 250, 275 plus your initial investment of, we're going to say 125 because it's easier math. So you got $400 for the first year as opposed to 225 for the first year.
Yeah.
Then you've got 25 for the next year on the big system, and you've got 300 a year. Did I do that math right? I did. $25 a month times 12. Yeah, that's $300. $300 a year. Yeah. To keep it going.
Yeah. And like, I want to be very clear. These Fluval CO2 kits are amazing. They do exactly what they're designed
They do.
to do. They're great.
They're cool. They look good. They work.
Uh-huh.
And so, like, genuinely, if you have the space to swirl a 5-pound tank,
Yeah.
it's just cheaper.
It's the bomb.
I honestly consider like a CO2 system, a 5-pound system, to be one of the better values in aquariums.
I think so.
Like cost versus benefit. It's going to be a bigger chunk at once than a lot of things, but not a bigger benefit at once. And over time, not more expensive than really any other upgrade you could do.
You set that bubble count at about 1 bubble every second, 1 bubble every 2 seconds. I think it's going to go for just go.
And that week, your plants will look better.
Oh, yeah.
Like maybe even the next day in
Yep.
some cases.
Yep.
So
Agreed. Yeah, that was a good one. And that you're right, that is one we carry. In our defense, we carry it because we use it to talk people into the big system.
Yeah.
I think the one we've had on the shelf for like 6 months.
yeah, like they should be available, I think, because
Yeah.
there is that tiny little circumstance, but almost never.
Right. Yep, I agree. Good one, Amy. I like it.
Cool. Hi, Charles.
Okay. So this one, I like last second kind of fudged what I wanted it to be. I originally wrote down buying the quote unquote cheaper option, but then every example in my head is a cheap heater.
Oh, yeah.
I almost put cheap LEDs on mine
Ooh.
because you will have to upgrade them.
Yeah.
They're going to grow so much more algae and give you so many more problems.
Yeah, but some of the expensive LEDs we have grow algae too.
It's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, cheap heaters.
Cheap heaters, man.
Rant, Charles. Let's hear you rant.
Dude, they're the worst. If there's one piece of equipment that's going to fail, it's going to be a heater, and it's going to fail in the on position.
Right.
And, oh man, just what's a really good heartbreaking story? Let's talk about that, the corals we lost in that one situation.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
So heaters, when your filter fails, it stops moving water. And in a couple of days, you're going to look at your tank and going, oh, that doesn't look right. Or you're going to notice, hey, there's no movement in my tank. Oh, I should probably make my way out and get a new filter because that's not working anymore. If your light fails, you're going to look at your tank and go, hey, it's dark. I need new light. If your heater fails, the only way you're going to notice is because your fish are at surface floating because you boiled them. Heaters are the only things I know of that fail on. Everything else fails off.
Yeah.
Heaters fail on.
And also, just a durable heater is invaluable. I'm not sure Amy ever experienced them, and I could be wrong, but those awful hang on the back heaters.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, what a terrible idea. Let's put something that can't be exposed to air in the area that is most likely to evaporate.
Well, you forget to unplug it and you do a water change. I did that and it exploded.
Oh yeah.
It's horrifying.
Uh-huh.
So let's just picture like any heater with a, let's say, less robust casing.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, so okay, if you're feeling frugal, right? And you're a careful person, a heater that doesn't have a robust casing, hey, be careful with it, right? The problem is the heaters that don't have robust casing also don't have robust electronics.
Yeah. So how much does a good heater cost?
$35 because we like the Fluval M series.
Okay.
The other ones we like are... Yes, I didn't say anything for a reason.
We've used the Oaza ones that are fine, but they're twice what the Fluval ones are.
Yeah, but they go great in the
filter, in the canister
thank
filter.
you.
Yeah.
Jeez, I'm sitting there like, what's
In the water
word?
cleaner thingy.
Yeah, that thing. All right, so let's do the math real quick.
Yeah.
20-gallon tank.
Yep.
Let's say you stock it with a pair of Apistos and like 10 Cardinal Tetras.
Let's even say you're a cheapskate and you stock it with just White Clouds don't even need the heater. We're going to stock it with Zebra Danios and you're still setting up right. Zebra Danios, a Bristlenose Pleco, and a pair of Dwarf Gouramis.
Okay.
Because I'm going like, let's go really inexpensive fish.
So let's say
8 Zebra Danios,
all right,
a
like
pair of Gouramis, and a Bristlenose Pleco.
It's probably more or less $50 to $100 worth of fish, depending on how fancy you go.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Good heater,
$35.
Cheap heater,
$15.
$15.
I think
Okay.
actually $18 now. Like the cheapest one I can see out there is $18.
Heater fails. You lose, let's say, $60 of fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You save money.
$60 worth of fish and a $17 heater.
Yeah. Instead of spending the $34.99 to get the Fluval M series,
It's
just better.
it's not worth it. And like I say this as a person that I stood on the hill of cheap heaters for years and I had 4 tanks crash because of it.
Yep.
It's not worth it, dude.
Not worth it.
Yep.
Anyways, there you go. There's my rant.
I like it.
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Okay. I'm going to go with an Aquavitro product.
Ooh.
Uh-huh. I can't remember the name of it because I've never ordered it. It's their saltwater dechlorinator.
Well, okay, to be fair, I could see an environment where it's viable.
Okay. You're wrong. And I'll tell you why you're wrong. Not just because of RO water, right? Because the where it's could be considered viable is if you're doing a fish-only setup with very low lighting so you don't care about the addition of nitrates and phosphates into your system.
No, there are places in the country that it's viable to run a reef tank with tap water. They're not very common, but they exist.
Okay, fine. Let's just say we're in one of those areas.
Yeah.
That also chlorinates their water. Right? You got to mix your salt water. Chlorine dissipates in 24 to 36 hours.
Chloramine doesn't, though.
How long does chloramine take to dissipate?
I don't think it does.
I think it does.
I think it's if it does, it's on the order of days.
Irregardless. Just kidding. I know that's not a real word. Use RO water for your reef tank.
Just so the listeners know, I am literally just poking at him just because I can. I don't feel that I'm right. I'm just doing it because I can.
Yeah. Oh, Charles likes to poke at me, and he's good at it. He's welcome to, and that's fine.
I'm going to say, even if you're in one of those areas, if I were you, I'd still probably be using RO water.
Yeah.
It's just a better option.
Well,
It
and
is.
you just don't, like, there's no way there's nothing in your water, and whatever those things are, I don't want to know I don't want to need to know how they're going to interact with my salt mix.
Right.
Like, I don't want to need to know, is whatever tiny little amount of this element in my water going to bind to this in the wrong way, going to elevate this the wrong way, I just want to start with neutral plus salt.
The biggest one for me is that most municipalities add phosphates to municipal water.
And he's right.
Yeah, that's what neutralizes lead in old houses. And unless it's a brand new city where they know there's no lead, and there might be some of those out there, but pretty much everybody does that. Phosphates are bad in salt water. I don't like them. They grow algae, lots of it. So saltwater dechlorinator to me is like, no. Why would you do that? And okay, so Aquavitro is one of those lines that I absolutely love what they do. And were they to make the best saltwater dechlorinator possible, I'm sure they did that. But if you're the kind of cheap ass that's going to use tap water for your saltwater tank, you're not going to buy the good stuff like Aquavitro.
Okay, point taken.
This is a weird one, guys. We're going to be pissing off a weird, tiny little subset of somebody who's but me.
I do want to hear about somebody who has success using tap water out there. By the way, success with a reef tank doesn't count unless your tank is at least 2 years old.
Fair.
And you better show me pictures. And if there's algae anywhere, well, then we're not going to have a very long conversation, will we? But yeah, success in reef tank has lasted in years, not months, or measured in years, not months. So I want to see some pictures, and I would love to hear some descriptions of what your tap water is like.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe you've got much better tap water out there. I'm sure that it's possible. Michigan tap water is great for some things, not great for others. All those people that say it's crappy tap water, they're wrong. It's good.
It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that it's hard to find quote unquote crappy water in most parts of America. It's just
except for Flint and Benton Harbor, but otherwise,
Yeah. Ouch.
It's just a separate set of challenges.
It's just different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Can I skip Amy real quick because I got one just because I want to poke at Ben
Yeah,
now.
okay.
I put RO units on mine.
I actually
Really?
put them on mine too.
Okay.
Really?
But we go first.
Specifically because there are two situations that I think an RO unit is useful.
Yeah.
And I see them used way more than that.
Huh.
If you have a saltwater tank and if you're breeding softwater fish.
Agreed.
Yeah. Or if you have a really, 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 really bad well.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Who else uses them?
A lot of people.
Yeah, you'd
Really?
be amazed at how many people now are setting up RODI systems just to have a freshwater tank because that's what they think they need.
Almost like probably around 40% of the people I talk to who keep shrimp, like neocaradinas, have an RO unit.
Yeah. And that are buying shrimp that are bred in regular Grand Rapids tap water because that's what the internet says you need.
Yep.
Internet's wrong.
I know.
Especially with a shrimp tank because it's probably a 4-gallon tank.
Yeah. And if it's a shrimp tank, you better be adding minerals back into it. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like you're, like, if you did do it for that, like, breeding softwater fish example, because then maybe you can get away with not remineralizing in certain circumstances. You still probably should. But shrimp need calcium.
Period.
So like, you have an RODI unit and then you're going to use Cuttlebone to feed your shrimp? I don't know.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I approve of this one on the list because there's too many qualifiers,
Yeah.
right? So, like Charles came up with, but there's those people that don't need it, right? Those people. Well, there's a whole lot of qualifiers for RO units.
I'm sticking with it, though, because it's a shocking number. Like,
Yeah.
dozens of conversations in the last month.
Yeah. This was one of my alternates because I agreed. There's so many, it's this specific case, but it's happened often enough that I felt the need to add it.
It's not like I've one guy or 2 or 3 people in the last month and it stuck out because it was weird. No, it's weird to me because of how often I have this conversation.
Mm-hmm. Or people coming in to buy RO water that just don't need it.
Wow. Yeah, this is apparently I need to spend a little bit more time out on the floor because this is a new one to me.
It's like the extreme example of the Betta water snake oil, right?
Oh, that was on my list.
It was on
actually.
yours?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the extreme version of that where you're literally installing it in your house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so most of the fish that go into our aquariums are bred in Florida. In ponds, in water that has a higher pH than Michigan. Most of them. There are exceptions. The rest of them can adapt and do better that way because you can keep it stable better. With many of them, it's very hard on a fish to be in a pH that's too low. It's actually harder on a fish to be in a pH that's too low than it is for them to be in a pH that's a little too high. Which is the whole reason people are using our soft water hardness and pH, right? Mm-hmm. So, all right, I'll stand corrected on this one. Even though anybody who has a saltwater tank bigger than 75 gallons must have an RO unit. Or come see us all the time, which is great. We're good with that. Come see us and buy water.
That's fine too.
You must use RO water in a saltwater tank.
Or even if you're I want to breed Opistos, wild Opistos. Let me give I even have the caveat that I want to breed wild Opistos or cardinal chartreuse. Yeah, sure. Use RO water.
Yeah. And usually at most I'm suggesting cut it 50-50.
Yeah. Every single freshwater fish on our sale floor right now is in Grand Rapids tap water, and that fluctuates mildly and slowly somewhere between 7.6 and 7.8 pH.
Even our angelfish who give us little wigglers every month.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I honestly think the only 2 tanks in the store that are freshwater that we're messing with pH are we're trying to breed licorice gouramis and we're trying to breed a wild pair of Opistos.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're messing with the pH in the soda cichlid tank too.
We sold them, so we're not anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But we were raising it up.
But we were.
Right.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That was it.
As an aside to this, just because we're already a little off the rails, one of my other alternates was pH altering products, which is related.
That was on mine too. Particularly anything that was pH up.
Yeah.
Oh, freshwater buffers.
Yeah. I pulled it off just because I was thinking there are specific circumstances that, you might want it. And it's probably if you're remineralizing RO water.
Yeah. So I was going, I referred to Atlanta, Georgia. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at an aquarium convention in Atlanta, Georgia. And up here, the idea of needing cichlid salts and freshwater buffer for an African cichlid tank.
What a scam,
right? And so I'm down at the Aquatic Gardeners Association in Atlanta, Georgia in 2008. It was an amazing time. But we're in the auction. We're sitting there and these plants are going for great money. I'm like, wow, those are so cool. And then we get through all the plants and they start to do the product auction. And I see Malawi cichlid buffer come up. And I go, ugh. And people around me are just bidding it up and bidding it up and bidding it up. Like, oh my gosh. All these people that I just spent the weekend hanging out with that seemed pretty smart. What is wrong with these people? And I was commenting to the person sitting next to me. And then I heard this commotion behind me. And another one came up really? Why would it go for so much? What is the point of that? And I felt a little tap on my shoulder. And the person leaned over and said, the pH of our tap water is 6.7. Okay. Oh. Yes.
Whoever that person is.
Yeah.
I really hope they hear this podcast.
I know, right?
I've heard this story so many times, and just the every single time, he's not softening it for the story. You must have been so gentle in saying this to him. So kudos to you for being so polite.
She was great. Yep, she was great. She's the same person that gave me the Nymphoides species Taiwan.
Really?
Right. So, you have to listen to a whole bunch of podcasts to hear that story because I'm not going to tell it again tonight. But yes, Nymphoides species Taiwan. She's the one who gave me that. And Yeah, and she was very polite about it, and she got it because she grew up in Chicago, and then moved to Atlanta and
She's like, "What
learned
is
this thing, right? Yes. So if you live in Michigan and use anything to quote unquote buffer your tap water, you're wasting your money.
I want to be joining in the club here just because I missed the boat a little bit. One of my alternates, I literally quote unquote have products for chasing water chemistry numbers.
That's kind of I guess that's the right around right now, right?
Yeah.
Because the internet said that they need a 7 to 7.5 pH, and mine is 7.8.
Bum bum bum. They're gonna die.
And I'm not trying to make fun of that much, because I get, like, when you're looking at a profile for a fish and it says it needs something different than what you have, you're just trying to do the best thing you can.
Right. I applaud that.
But fish are so adaptable. Freshwater fish, a rainstorm can be enough to change their pH.
Right. We use that word adaptable, and we're not saying it's okay if you keep them in stressful conditions. We're saying they will adapt to the consistent conditions you can provide for them in a healthy aquarium using Michigan tap water.
Yep.
And that will be better than the phrase Charles so eloquently used, chasing water chemistry, because you won't ever catch it. It'll constantly fluctuate as you chase it. If you let tap water do its thing, you're good. Now, I do know some people, we have some customers that the pH of their well water is pushing 9.5. And yes, then you do have to mess with water chemistry if you want to keep it.
Unless you want to keep soda cichlids, in which
Yeah.
case,
Great.
go
Yeah.
for it.
But a lot of those times, those wells also have, because they're really rural wells, they've got farm runoff, they've got ammonia and nitrates coming out anyway.
Right.
So make a really good friend and go and get their tap water.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or come in and get it here. We actually will give you our tap water for free. Bring in a bucket and we will fill tap our water. Yes, we sell 25 cents a gallon, but
I think the most
that's legit.
I think the most insane water I've ever tested was, and I'm trying to remember the exact details. I think it was they lived on what used to be an apple orchard. And so
right.
just like the type of runoff they were getting in their well was just insane.
Yeah. I've had that one too. And they were trying, like, I had to break it so gently because they were like, it was my family's tree farm. And I don't think they would be adding anything that would make the well bad. And I'm like, it's fertilizer. Like, it's not bad. It's
Right.
just, that is what you do.
That's a thing that
It's not it's like toxins, but like, that word doesn't mean anything. It's just things that make your life more difficult right now.
it's way different as something you want to drink as opposed to something you need to breathe.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, anything in sufficient quantity is toxic.
Yeah,
that's
You know
true.
what I mean?
That's
like
true.
water is poisonous if you drink enough of it.
Yeah. You know, it accounts for over 99% of all drownings.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah. All right. Did we rant enough about like water chemistry and chasing numbers and stuff like that to move on to something else?
Yeah, I got a lot out there.
Just because we
Yeah.
can doesn't mean we should. Let's move on.
That's
Yeah. I could keep going for at least another
Freshwater
20 minutes.
buffer. Yeah. Saltwater chlorinator. Yeah. Okay. You had me convinced on RO units. Yeah. All right, Amy, you're up. Something else. Something new.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's one big one, but I don't think I'm going to take that one because I think we need to talk about it later.
There's one here that each of us has to have, right?
There's the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
But this isn't that one. I went with bulb lights
Yeah.
because it's similar to the CO2 thing. By the time you replace it as much as you need to, you've spent as much as you would even on a great LED.
Outdated technology.
But they still sell them. Like,
Oh yeah.
chain stores still sell kits with bulbs in them, which I was amazed to see that today, just because it seems like so much more for them to deal with too. But
There's still a segment of the reefing community that insists on doing really nice high-end LEDs and supplementing it with high output T5s.
yeah, and I guess I get it to an extent, but to me, you got to change them out. I think it's by a year they're down like 80%, but before that they've already started degrading, right?
Those people are changing them every 6 months
Yeah,
at
and
$25 to $30 a bulb.
exactly. And
Although
so
I feel like if you're at that level, like, how do I say this gently and nicely? You're at a level of insanity that you're like, I'll bow down before your aquarium. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
I've seen so many phenomenal aquariums with outrageous clam and coral growth using high-end LEDs that I'm completely. I have one customer that comes in. He just two of them actually that like, nope, I'm sticking with it. I'm like, I'm not. I can't get to the bulbs anymore.
I mean, that one of those people has halides, which are fantastic lights, but was dealing with temperature problems all summer, was losing stuff, and still wouldn't change it out.
Yep.
So I don't know. That I don't get. But so often it's just, well, this is what came with it. No, I don't remember the last time I changed it out. But man, I have some crazy algae problems.
And my plants won't grow anymore. They used to go great under this light.
Yeah. So maybe change it out, but honestly, just replace it, and then you don't have to worry about it. Like
that is outdated technology.
yeah,
Yep.
and cheap T8s are $20 a pop if you're lucky, and cheap, really good plant LEDs, 60 to 80 is a pretty good place to start. So wait a year and get the one that you actually want. You're not saving any money by doing a bulb fixture ever.
At this point, the normal output fluorescent fixture is going to cost you fairly similarly. Is going to cost about the same as a comparable LED, right? A cheap LED, and I still think there's a place for some cheap LEDs. I think that they're just fine. If that's as much as you can afford, get the cheap LED as opposed to getting the normal output fluorescent. That's a complete waste.
But I will say, to tack on to the little cheap LED thing I mentioned earlier, I mean, don't buy the first choice on Amazon because it's cheaper.
Right. Don't buy a cheap LED to grow expensive things.
Exactly.
Right? Buy a cheap LED because it's a low output LED and you don't need high output. If you want to pump in light, don't get a cheap one.
Yeah, don't buy cheap high light
Right.
LEDs.
Here's my contribution to this rant.
Yeah.
Just because you guys covered it really well. Here's the weird like holdover that like people still retain. Wattage doesn't mean jack with LED, by the way.
Right.
Yes, it's worthless.
Right.
Like it meant something with fluorescent bulbs.
It did. Yeah.
It doesn't mean jack for LED
Right.
Yeah.
because a bad LED can produce far lower light output with the same wattage as a good diode.
Right.
Like it doesn't matter anymore, guys.
Right.
Just let it go.
And it's a difficult thing to address because we don't have a comparable way to measure it.
No.
It used to be really easy. If you had a 250 watt halide, you knew how much light was going into the tank, depending on how old the bulb was, right? Color temperature was different, but whether it was a coral view or a phoenix or a reflux, it was putting out really darn close to the same amount of light. Calling it, I'm not calling it a different thing. If you have a 65 watt LED fixture from one company, it's putting out different amounts of light than a 65 watt LED from a different company.
Yeah. Somebody out there, please, if we're wrong about this, I'd love to hear a different explanation for lighting. But I don't think that there is a single number other than par where you know what depth it's at that can tell you how good a light is.
Even then, most par meters, it's got to be an aquarium designed par meter.
Yeah. Or comparing the same to same, right?
Same
if you
to
use
same.
the same meter on two different lights,
Yeah.
theoretically it would be comparable.
Yes.
So, I wish I could give people better advice. I wish I could say, this is what to look for when looking for a good LEDs. Look for somebody who you respect, who's been using it for a long time that recommends it. And that's really the only thing.
Go with the good brands, which to me, I'll tout my brands here, tout our brands here, right? Kessel, Twin Star, Aqua Illumination, Radion, Lifeguard.
I think that covers
Yeah.
all of mine.
Yeah.
The lifeguards are my new babies. Those things are great.
The
And
new
they
Twin
actually
Star B
list-
series is out.
I know.
I'm excited. To
I
see
know.
those.
No, I'm so excited.
Hopefully next week we'll have some of those.
So excited.
Teaser.
It's supposed to be their fish only light, but for us, it's going to mean the low to medium tech light.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Those lifeguards are great. And they list par on their packaging,
Right.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's good, Amy. I like it. Charles, what is your not chasing water chemistry related aquarium product you think is worthless?
I've got a weird one, and it's very specific, but you'd be shocked how much I've come across it.
Uh-huh.
Buying a new fish food in bulk.
Oh, sure.
I cannot tell you how
Keyword
many,
is new.
Yeah. I cannot tell you how many people, and this is like, I'm very clearly teasing clubbies right now.
This is such a clubby thing, too.
And I'm like unapologetically like pointing the finger and kind of laughing at. I have a few people in mind where like they came in and they were just telling me, yeah, I bought, let's say, a $40 thing of this food. And none of my fish like it.
Okay, some of the
My
first name.
favorite YouTuber really likes it, so I bought a bunch of it.
Yeah.
I'm too chicken to buy foods in bulk. I'm going to ruin him far before I get to the end. Like, it's water. I'm going to get my wet fingers in there and it's going to get nasty.
Amy, that doesn't surprise me coming from you.
I would waste more money that way.
Yeah.
I like it.
I don't know. Just try it out first and then go for the big bottle.
That's such a funny one.
But multiple times, multiple people.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard it multiple times.
Yeah. All right, so I got a funny one.
Mm-hmm.
If you listened to our podcast last week, you heard me rant about fake plants. Right? I'm not going to rant about fake plants.
I almost
Tonight.
put it.
Did you put fake decorations?
Nope. Fake anubias plants.
Those are definitely harder to keep than a real anubias plant.
Exactly. Yes. Anubias plants I have kept in a tank that didn't have a light, and they grew.
Because of that information, we have killifish breeding tanks unlit with anubias plants, and they've been in there. When did we set up that rack?
I think we're at 6 months.
Minimum.
Yeah. I've had anubias plants in with silver dollars. I've had anubias plants in with goldfish. I've had anubias plants in with many different types of Malawi cichlids. They're big, thick, beefy leaves that almost nobody wants to eat. They're easier than fake plants. Yep. Fake anubias plants to me is just
It's like insulting to
insulting.
the real plant.
How dare you? Yeah, like the line I love to give people is that like a healthy anubias just doesn't let gunk grow on it. Like that's
Right.
like plants are equipped to not let things go as long as they have the resources to grow properly.
Well, and if it's an anubias, it doesn't need that many resources.
No.
And if gunk is growing on your real anubias, it's going to grow on your fake one, and they're just about as easy to clean,
Yeah.
or maybe even easier because you can kind of rub the
Yeah.
gunkus off of it.
The anubias will help you because it will then grow and
Right.
help outcompete it.
And if you're growing that much gunkus, you probably need to do more water changes and feed less anyway.
Or
So-
alternatively, just get more anubias.
Yeah.
So there we go. Fake anubias plants. Why?
Why indeed?
I can
Why
understand,
indeed.
Like I'm not saying I'm an advocate for it, but I can understand certain plants being fake and existing in the hobby. But anubias particular is like really insulting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just wrong.
Well, I've exhausted my list except for one notable exception.
All right. Let's talk about it.
Are we ready for it?
I don't.
I mean, I still have some other ones, but do we want to finish off the discussion with that one?
That's
Because if we do, I got a couple other like zingers.
Or should we go into this one and then do honorable mentions? Or are these ones that need some discussion?
Are not honorable mentions.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that
we'll hold off then.
We'll hold off on that one. Do you got another?
I got one more good one.
Okay. Let's do yours.
It's got a very specific caveat too, though.
Okay.
Big surprise.
Bottles of nitrifying bacteria for maintenance.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
That one's stupid common.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And those bottles tell you to keep using it.
Right. Nitrifying bacteria reproduce on their own naturally in an aquarium.
Like they're
so
either,
you don't need more of them. They grow themselves.
Yeah, they're either in your tank or they're not. Like
right.
Like,
Getting your tank started with them? Yeah, it's not a bad
it's
idea.
great.
Sure, speed it up a little bit. Great.
Yeah.
I say that as a person for every tank I've set up in the last 2 years, I've used a bottle of nitrifying bacteria on. I love it.
Yeah.
It's just not a maintenance problem.
Yeah, if your nutrient load is fluctuating enough that you need to continually add more beneficial bacteria to support it, feed less. What do you think we keep saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think you nailed it. There are some bacterias on the market right now that some of them I'm interested in learning more about. But the ones that are just labeled as nitrifying bacteria, come on, guys.
Yeah.
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 Those bacterias are good. We need more of them.
Whether other bacteria will get rid of your sludge is another question.
Right. And
Currently testing, by the way.
seems to be some evidence for some of that, and I can appreciate the way that they do it.
Yes.
More to come. Stay
I
tuned.
just love the labeling the stuff in the tank as like sludge because
Yeah.
there's nothing in most healthy tanks that I would want to call sludge.
It's true. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We like the word detritus.
Detritus is much better. Detritus is like, oh, it happened to be here for a while, not like I've got a toxic waste dump at the bottom of my tank.
Oh no. That's my last good zinger one before we
That's a
reach
good one.
The one where all of us come out swinging.
Oh yeah. So we talked about betta water briefly, but that's a good one. And we talked about dechlorinator. We talked about all of those things that alter water chemistry when you really don't need it. But I first wrote down just a little thing, and then I realized I needed to go off on this one a little bit. So I started out with goldfish bowl. Right? There's no such thing as a good goldfish bowl unless somebody comes out with one that's like 40 gallons, which would be awesome.
That would be awesome. But I think physically impossible.
And a little scary. Yeah. But then I decided any product currently available, labeled for sale for goldfish, except goldfish food.
Wow. You just my brain quickly went through everything in that criteria and was like, yep.
Yeah. Goldfish water conditioner? No, just water conditioner.
We can almost say anything that's labeled for a specific fish, unless it's like Rift Lake cichlids. Usually,
I could see specific foods.
Yeah, foods don't count.
And that you're right, it doesn't count.
But betta water conditioner, goldfish water conditioner, it's water conditioner.
It's water conditioner. Yeah. This actually came up when I was doing some orders today through one of our dry goods distributors. And I was going through their sections and doing the little pull down tabs, right? And aquatics, aquariums, and then there's big aquariums, desktop aquariums, plastic aquariums, glass aquariums, betta aquariums, betta tanks, goldfish tanks. And oh, by the way, both the betta tank section and the goldfish tank section, there's not a single product I would have bought from either of those sections. I completely disagree with everything they put in those sections. And I could go on and on and on and on about that, and it pisses me off. I know, harsh word, but I mean it. But the goldfish one was actually much worse than the betta one because they had two goldfish kits, labeled goldfish kits, and they were both 5-gallon kits.
Ouch.
The betta kits were all in that section. 0.7 gallons was the biggest one. The other ones were 0.5 gallons.
It makes me so mad.
Mm-hmm. But I'm talking about goldfish. We can rant about bettas later.
But products like that and that type of marketing are why every week somebody walks in and says, like, oh, well, I'm looking to set up an aquarium, but I don't know if I'm in the right place. I don't want to do anything crazy like what you guys are doing. I was just thinking like a goldfish tank or something.
Goldfish are not beginner's fish.
They're so much harder than anything we have on the floor.
Right.
So, like, why are we setting these people up for this kind of failure as an industry, as people who theoretically want people to have an aquarium? It makes me so mad.
I have to do a slow clap for some of those parents out there where they were at a fair and their kid won a goldfish, which, by the way, I want to punch those people in the face that run those fairs to sell goldfish, because the people that win them, usually they are victims of that. They don't know any better. Mm-hmm. They just threw a quarter in something and got a goldfish, right?
That's how you do it. That's what you do.
But every once in a while, we get somebody who comes into the store with a 6-inch goldfish that they won at a fair and say, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But they managed to grow that fish to 6 inches. They got it into a 20 long. That's still not big enough. But wow, they have decided, oh my gosh, look what I just took on. It's a fish that's going to get 9 inches long and live for 60 plus years if you're doing it right. 60 years. Mm-hmm. That's like a parrot.
Yeah. And they are great pets if you can keep them healthy and alive. And
right. But 5 gallons?
It's ludicrous.
There. So there's my rant. By the way, I intentionally put in except goldfish food, because if you do have goldfish, you do want food specifically designed for goldfish. And by the way, that's not the cheap stuff. It's the good stuff. The Sake Hikari goldfish food is the only stuff I will ever feed goldfish.
Yeah.
So there's my goldfish rant.
I also want to give y'all the context of, like, genuinely, I think Ben is the only person at this table that actually loves goldfish. So this rant is coming from a place of love, not.
I love goldfish.
Like, he's not, like, what's the word, like, condescending at all in this.
No, I love them.
He just thinks they deserve better than the market's giving them right now.
Yeah. My wife had a beautiful 75-gallon goldfish aquarium with 4 goldfish in it, and it was really hard.
So much work.
Yeah. Okay, we ranted on goldfish enough. All right, Amy.
The thing is, we could go on for another 20 minutes, and I'm pulling myself back because we got to continue this discussion, and this is one that merits some discussion here.
Yes.
Because very near and dear to our hearts.
I teased it with my undergravel filter thing.
Yes. So you can't have a conversation about money-wasting products without talking about cartridge filters.
Yes.
Because the first time you go to throw away your cartridge, you should throw away the whole filter. Because you may as well.
And then buy an AquaClear. Uh-huh. Or a Tidal.
Literally anything that doesn't have cartridges in it that can move water through it.
Right.
Like, this is one, sure, buy the first cheapest option that's on Amazon. The pump may give out, but the filter will work as long as it's not a cartridge filter.
Right.
If it is a cartridge filter, then the filter will work until you change the cartridge.
Right. Or, I mean, you're still putting carbon in it. I hate carbon, by the way.
That was one of my money wasters too. But
carbon.
Because you have to keep replacing it every month. And you have to replace your entire filter because you have to replace the carbon every month.
Yeah, but you don't want to use carbon that much because carbon is bad.
Yeah. And at that point, probably isn't doing you any good. And is only causing you harm.
Probably causing harm, yes. So Charles alluded to the whole nitrifying bacteria thing, and now apparently we have to dig a little deeper.
Yeah, with a cartridge filter, okay, we talked about how your filter... It's so strange. Okay, let me just go on a little tangent on this because I really have to. It is so strange to me because most of the times that I'm talking about cartridge filters, most of the people I talk to about it who own them understand the nitrogen cycle and they understand what their filter is doing. But for some reason, and I'm not faulting them at all for this. It's
right.
I'll say sleight of hand marketing that
Yeah.
they have purposely left out the detail of. Well, when you throw away this cartridge filter, you're throwing away all this hard-earned bacteria along
Yeah,
with it.
so then you need the bottled nitrifying bacteria.
Exactly.
Right.
I'm like,
Oh, a product that sells more products, that if it kills your fish too, sells even more products?
Brilliant.
Brilliant. That's what we want.
Right.
That's how we have people who are buying products year after year.
That's why there are more aquariums in garages and basements talking about storage than there are in living rooms and kitchens.
Mm-hmm.
It's infuriating.
Yeah.
Because the industry as a whole sometimes just seems dead set on setting people up to fail.
Right.
And I I want to be very clear. This isn't save my buying new food in bulk one. I'm not we're not talking down or making fun of fish keepers or people who bought these products. We're calling out the
critiquing the
people
industry.
who
Yeah.
sold
Yeah.
them these products. And
I'm
knew
mad
what they
for
were-
you, not at you.
Yeah.
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 Because all of us have been there. Everyone at this table, we have stories about these products and why we personally have vendettas against them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You've heard me talk fun stuff about Nick, the guy who's going to edit this podcast. So I'm just going to give him a little shout out and tell him a little fun story. Tell a little fun story about him. He was ranting with me recently about the sale, someone offering goonch catfish for sale, right? Which a goonch catfish was featured on River Monsters. They get in excess of 6 feet long. There's estimates, there are theories out there that there are actually people that have been eaten by goonch catfish in certain rivers.
Whether or not it's literally true, it's literally possible.
Right. It is literally possible. And so he said, hey, I wonder what would happen if I start a conversation with this person who's on one of the Facebook pages selling goonch catfish. And he did it from a very careful place. He said, hey, these fish are going to get 6+ feet long and reach over 200 pounds. How many people do you know that can actually keep these fish? And it actually stayed fairly civil. I was pretty impressed. But one of the comments was, well, you can't fault the people that are supplying these fish. People are willing to buy them.
What?
I can't
Are you
fault
being
people
serious
for
right now?
selling meth. People will buy it.
Yeah, come
let's
on.
put it in every grocery store because someone will buy it.
This is a living creature that we're talking about. This is not, okay, look, I shouldn't have bought that inflatable flamingo for my front yard.
Oh,
right? That
Supreme
doesn't
sells
fit.
a crowbar for $10,000. Someone's
Right.
going to buy it.
This
sure,
is a
buy
living
it.
creature that that's going to get tortured. And so should we fault the aquarium industry for producing cartridge filters and beneficial bacteria and all of these products?
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely we should. We should shout out and we should yell about it. We should get mad about it. Like, come on, guys, why are you setting people up to fail? We can make this easier and we can make this more fun for everybody. We can make it so that there are more aquariums set up than there are torn down in people's garages. We should make it that nobody ever wants to put an aquarium in their front yard with a big tag of free on it because it's such this cool, amazing privilege that we get to have to keep this in our home.
Yeah. If it was as fun for everybody as it is to the people who are listening to this podcast and as it is you think it's going to be when you're starting out, everyone would have one.
And keep it.
Yeah. Like, there's nobody who doesn't think an aquarium is cool.
Right.
But
Except
there's a
that
lot of
one
people who don't think it's
ex-girlfriend you had
fun.
in college.
Yeah, right?
But we don't talk about her.
But there are a lot of people who hate them because of experience that they're given.
It's too much work. It's too hard. It was too expensive.
It smells bad.
It smells bad. Oh, that one gets me every time. No healthy aquarium smells bad, ever.
It might smell like
I actually have
plant
a really
water.
funny story about that. And I had someone tell me that their reef aquariums smell bad, and it took me a very long time to deduce that person actually just hates the smell of salt.
Interesting.
I thought that was like it took us like in the second that person realized that I was like, wait, like that? And she was just like, oh no.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
All right. So we have ranted. You have listened. Anybody who's still listening at this point, they're either like going to send us hate mail or they're just like laughing or crying or something. So let's, I just want to rattle through a couple honorable mentions, right? Stress guard.
Oh, yeah.
I've actually had a lot of debate on that one lately.
I mean, okay, it's like a water conditioner mostly, right? Stress guard, but it also has slime coat
It
stuff in it.
irritates a fish so that they produce more slime.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know all kinds of people that ship fish and have never used it. I know we've never used it to ever.
I just like what would I be using it for? Is
Right.
my question.
It's snake oil.
I want to give this caveat, and this is because I have a slightly softer viewpoint on stress coat. Here's the thing. I have been shown the data of this is what stress coat does.
Okay.
The extrapolation is that tannic acid and humic acids are also an irritant, and they stimulate. I have not been shown the data that aloe vera stimulates and irritates in a comparable way, so it has the same benefits.
Right.
If you can show me that, that's great. I've never seen it.
Yeah. Or just don't use it and it's fine.
Yeah.
Reef safe ick medications.
Oh, yeah.
That's completely useless. If it's reef safe,
oxymoron.
it's also ick safe. Ammo carb.
What?
That would be products that mix ammonia absorbing media with carbon. Or any ammonia absorbing media, but ammo carb is like this. Like, should I buy ammo carb or just straight carb? Neither, but definitely never ammo carb. If you need, like, for emergency circumstances, you might need something ammonia absorbing, but that's only because you really screwed up. Yeah. Water clarifiers. Emergency circumstances only when you really screwed up, but never like, I want my water to be more clear.
Yeah. That's the fun question of how do you get your water so clear when people come in?
Yeah.
Water changes.
Use this I'm sorry, I can't do that. Throw that away. Just don't do it.
I'm going to plug our TikTok because I recently got asked what's the one situation you can use Seacom Clarify in. And we had out, as of like last night from our recording session, we have a TikTok of me taking a jar of green water and dumping in.
Oh, yeah. It worked for green water.
It works for green water.
Yeah.
That is the one situation that it makes sense
and
to
it's
me.
because green water is one of the only algae that even if you do everything right, will still stay.
Right.
You got to just physically remove it. So anyways, check out that TikTok.
Check it out. What else you guys got on your, like...
I put fake decorations.
Fake decorations?
Yeah. No, I snuck all mine in.
I almost put... printed backgrounds.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Make your aquarium beautiful, not the picture behind it. If you want a pretty picture, put one on the wall, not on the back of your aquarium. Make your aquarium beautiful.
I put this one in to be
That's my
funny,
only rant.
but I said too many aquariums.
That's not money wasting. That's using money wisely,
Exactly.
I
Charles.
don't know what that means, too many aquariums. Anything else?
Actually, money wasting would be trying to do too many aquariums in one aquarium.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, that's a podcast.
Just get a second one. Come on, get over it. It's easier.
I'm good.
Yeah,
So we ranted a bit.
that was fun.
It was fun. Yes, maybe I got a little passionate there at the end, but...
We're going to have to do money-saving products so we
Oh,
can
that's a
talk
good
about
idea.
stuff that we liked.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That'd be
Yeah.
another fun rant.
And this is one where it feels like we're calling out so many different companies, but honestly, it's due.
It's we have to take responsibility, and the responsibility needs to go up, not down, because beginners, people getting into the hobby, don't know better. We can't expect them to.
It's not fair.
Nope.
There's a level of trust from beginners that we cannot take lightly.
Yeah, and for
Exactly.
people who at this point are listening to this, you can't take it lightly either. When you're online, when you're the one who are saying that you know what you're talking about, respect the position that you have and the way that people see you as an authority. Because every word you say, they're going to take as gospel.
if you've been doing it for 6 months and you give advice online, it should only be go ask somebody who knows better. You don't know enough to give advice.
Right.
2 years, still don't. 5 years, maybe.
Yeah. Talk about your experiences. Say what you've tried that works. Say what you've tried that doesn't. But don't be that guy that says, if you don't have the API master test kit, you may as well throw this thing in the trash. Because that's
right, Amy,
just
close us out here because I need to have more of this beer.
All right, guys. Well, be sure to let us know what you thought about this episode. You can find the Watercolors Aquarium Gallery podcast listeners group on Facebook. You can send us an email at podcast@watercolorsaquariumgallery.com. You can find us on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. So be sure to check in. We'd love to see pictures of your tanks, learn what products you can't stand, and what ones you can't live without, too.
Well, hopefully our wholesalers will still be willing to sell to us after this podcast. But thank you so much for listening. Let's have lots of fun and keep those hands wet.